Are you someone who wants to be a healthcare professional in the UK? Again, whether that's an occupational therapist, speech and language therapist, audiologist, or physiotherapist even, then this video is for you, because in today's video, I will be describing the entire process from start to end on all of the steps that you need to take in order to start working as a healthcare professional in the UK. But for those of you who haven't already followed me on Instagram, now's your turn to do so. My handle is Physiotherapy in UK. Hope to see you there. So I have made so many videos about just the general sort of workings and the ins and outs of being a healthcare professional in the UK. But I just realized that I haven't made a single video that describes the entire process. So today's video is going to do exactly that. Now, if you are a healthcare professional, let me remind you that if you need to work in the UK, you might most likely need to be registered with the appropriate healthcare body. Now, again, for most of us who are allied healthcare professionals, this would be your HCPC. Now, again, if you are confused about whether HCPC governs you or not, and if you need an HCPC registration, please find the link below, which will take you to the HCPC website, which shows the 15 professions it governs. Now, if your profession falls under there, you do need an HCPC license. Now, again, another most common question from people is, Nikita, I am recently going to graduate, or I have just graduated, or I am in my internship. Can I make an HCPC application and will it be accepted because I do not have enough experience? So let me remind you again, if you are somebody who has even 6 months of internship experience, HCPC will most likely acknowledge that experience and consider your application. Your chances of making a good application depend on those 6 months of experience. Now, another thing for you to remember is that using that experience, and only once you've got your provisional degree certificate at the very least, can you go ahead and make your HCPC application. If you are still confused about how do you make the application, what are the documents you need, what are the fees, do not forget to check out this playlist where you get all this information through my videos. But again, another growing concern that I've encountered ever so often on Instagram is, Nikita, a load of HCPC applications are getting rejected. What if mine gets rejected? Well, firstly, let me inform you that HCPC is not a fool, and they're not going to reject your application simply because they enjoy it. The reason your applications are getting rejected is because y'all are not making good enough applications. Now, if you need help in making a good enough application, please do not forget to book a one-to-one session with me, and you'd rather do it sooner than later, because really getting in touch with me when you've been asked to submit further information or whether you've been called for a test of competence just puts you in more stress. So do not hesitate to book that one-to-one session with me if you are aspiring to be a healthcare professional in the UK and are completing your HCPC form at the minute. If you are a student who's planning to come into the UK and are looking for cheap, budget-friendly accommodation, do not forget to book your accommodation through Amber Students, because they are absolutely amazing, and I'll leave the link for them in the description box below, because yes, they are amazing, like I've said before. So get in touch with them, guys. The next thing to talk about is timeline. So how long is HCPC really taking right now? So HCPC is taking anywhere between 1 to 2 months to about 3 to 4 months for processing applications for international applicants. Now, this essentially is not very long, because when I did my HCPC registration, and people before me have said that it's taken them nearly 6 to 8 months or sometimes even up to a year to get their HCPC registration. So trust me, guys, you are in an absolutely brilliant spot. This is the time to make those HCPC applications if you're really keen to work as a healthcare professional in the UK. Another question that I know is mumbling around in many of your heads is, Nikita, what is going to happen with the shortage occupation list and the work visa, and is it all going to stop? Now, again, if you are somebody who's really concerned about this, do not forget to check out this video where I've explained all of it. But just for those of you who really need to know this information, remember that there are over 10,000 live vacancies in the NHS. And again, I understand that that's not very occupation specific. So for example, there are no 10,000 jobs for physiotherapists, but these are 10,000 general healthcare jobs across the UK and Scotland. So there are a lot of jobs and live vacancies at the minute, and if you make those applications, you're more likely to be successful for a role if you apply for it in the right way. But that's me getting ahead of ourselves. So let's just talk about online application versus paper application. So for those of you all who are not aware, HCPC is only doing online applications these days. Now again, I've made a video which I'm going to leave the link for right here, which explains all of it and all of the information that you need to make a good online application. So give it a check, guys. But yeah, let's move ahead and assume that you've got your HCPC registration number. Woohoo! Yay! But what next? The next thing you need to do is start making job applications. Now, again, if you are somebody who wants to work within the NHS, which is the biggest sponsor for healthcare jobs in the UK, then I would advise you to choose any one of these websites, because these are legit healthcare job websites run by the NHS. Now, again, if you are somebody who are applying through any one of these job websites or portals, let me remind you that you just need to make an online application that you can potentially reuse to make several other job applications to different employers. Again, I know the next question you're going to ask me is, Nikita, how do I make those job applications? I have made a date playlist for you to use at this point. So as soon as you start making those job applications, please check out this playlist, because it gives you loads of good information about how to fill those job applications, what is it that UK employers are expecting, and what is the sort of important information that you need to put in, not only about your qualification, but also about your professional experience. Now, if you are somebody who's struggling with these applications, say for example, you've made loads of applications, you've made about 20 or 100 of them, and you haven't received a positive feedback, it is most likely that you're missing a really crucial or a key element in those applications. So I would advise you that do go ahead and make those applications by yourself. But if you're not finding success, rather than being dejected and demotivated, do book a one-to-one session with me, guys, because I can help you out with this, and I can give you some really good tips and feedback that will help you to improve your application and start landing those interviews. Another common tip that I share with everybody is that it takes nearly about 20 minutes to make a good application. So if you are somebody who is in the process of making a good application, definitely give yourself time, because that's how long you're going to need in order to make a good application. But once you've made an application, what is the next step? The next step is ideally that you will be shortlisted for interviews. Now, again, let me remind you, in the UK, we usually, as a part of the NHS, the interview process is fairly straightforward. Once you're called for an interview, you will simply have one round of interviews where a panel of nearly 2 to 3 people will be sort of interviewing you together. So please do not be afraid. It is very different from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Philippines, or any other country where I've sort of experienced or where people have spoken to me about interviews. But it's absolutely fine. 3 people in an interview is completely normal, so do not get stressed about it. Just make sure that you put your best foot forward, be honest about your experience, and definitely share all of the vast amounts of clinical knowledge that you have in those interviews. And hopefully you land the job, fingers crossed. Now, this was all about you securing a job. Once you have the job, what you then need to do is you need to go through certain pre-employment checks, which will be told to you by your HR once you've been confirmed by the interview panel as, you know, being selected for the job. You go through the pre-employment checks, and only then will you be issued a certificate of sponsorship, also known as COS. Once you have your COS, you can then use it to make your visa application, and hopefully, if you've made it under the health and care visa category, you should get an answer for your application within a week. This is exactly the process that you will need in order to work as a healthcare professional in the UK. I hope that made sense. And again, if you have any questions, do not forget to leave them down in the description box below, because I will get back to them. Take care.